Hi, welcome to the Guitar Department. I'm your host, Joe Alton. We are back after a long hiatus, and we've got a great episode for you today. Our guest is going to be Dan Medeiros. He's a 12-string player, actor, model. Dude's got a lot to talk about. He's going to play 2 songs for us. It's going to be a great show. Thank you for tuning into the Guitar Department. Welcome back to the Guitar Department, and I'm here with my guest, Mr. Dan Medeiros. Dan, I said it wrong again, didn't I?
No, you got it.
Did I?
You got it. Yeah, it's close enough, honestly.
Medeiros.
Medeiros, yeah.
Take note, anybody who's interviewing this man, it's dare as in dairy, and then us, Medeiros.
What do you think I go by the DM Project most of the time?
The
'Cause
DM Project.
It's just a lot easier. So it'll be like, oh, is it the Des Moines Project? I'm like, you know what? Hey, if that helps you remember it, just go to thedmproject.com and then you'll figure it out from there.
You know what's funny is that actually did help me remember it when I first was exposed to your existence in the first place.
Yeah.
The DM Project, it just rings as the Des Moines Project.
Yeah, pure coincidence. Initials DM, and I moved to a place called Des Moines.
All right. So let's start with that. You perform under the name the DM Project, but you're really mostly a solo act. Is that correct?
Yeah, the Dan Medeiros Project. It's something that sort of came to be in high school. I was in bands, and friends would be like, "I don't even know who else is in your band, so I just call your band the Dan Medeiros Project." And when I started playing solo, I was just like, that kind of makes sense. Mm-hmm. And it's the Dan Medeiros Project. It's a culmination of everything I do. It's if I'm doing my cover music or original music, if I'm composing music for film. I mean, that's the project. It's everything I do musically, creatively is all part of that. So yeah, it kind of works and it's stuck.
And so your weapon of choice here, you play almost exclusively on a 12-string guitar. Is that correct?
Yeah. I find it weird to actually pick up a 6-string acoustic and play it now because it just doesn't hold up. The 12-string, it just creates so much extra sound. It fills in the gaps. Especially being a solo musician, I have a lot to do on my own on stage, and having that 12-string, it creates more of just a bigger experience. Especially if I'm opening up for bands, it doesn't. I don't know. I always get the bands come up to me. They're like, "Man, it just really fills the room." It was so cool. We see so many musicians playing on a 6-string, and it's the usual thing, but it just comes through so much bigger and so much more full. And I need that because I'm just so obsessed with hearing the song. I need to hear it. So I feel like with the 12-string, I can take 2 guitar parts and a bass part and really build it into one single guitar. The only problem that comes with that is when I take my original songs and try to put it with a band, and then I have to almost deconstruct the song to go, okay, the bass parts can be handled by the bass. The lead parts can now be handled by the lead guitar. I don't need to do everything all in one, and then I need to break down and simplify what I've been doing, for the rhythm portion. So it's a fantastic thing, but it can be a little frustrating, as I said, when you have to break it all down again.
And so let's back up a little bit and talk about your musical development. When did you start playing music in general?
I officially started taking guitar lessons when I was 9, going on 10. Big music family on my mom's side, so I was exposed to guitars when I was really young. I was holding my uncle's guitar when I was only about 5 or 6 years old, and just being obsessed, absolutely obsessed with guitars. I was, finding construction, plywood and piece of wood and drawing out the guitar, and then taking it to my neighbor and having him cut it out, and then I would, put on build the frets and the heads, and I would use fish line and actually create guitar strings for it, and then I would turn on the Canadian version of MTV Much Music, and I would just stand there watching music videos all day and just rocking out with my fake guitar and pretending to play everything. And my parents finally got to the point they're like, all right, he needs to start playing. So they enrolled me in the Ontario Conservatory of Music. Very, very strict on my training and practicing at home, and because they're like, if we're going to spend this kind of money on guitar lessons, I mean, you're going to do it. And because most kids, and I had family members, friends who would get into guitar lessons as well, and they would just fizzle off and just stop because they just didn't want to do that stuff.
Right.
They just wanted to play the songs they wanted to play. So I wasn't allowed to actually learn any cover songs for a whole year. I wasn't allowed to play any electric guitar for at least a year. I had to learn purely acoustic, going through the books, learning all the different, learning to read music and learning to understand how notes and chords are created and why they're there.
Yeah.
Essentially, the basics of of music theory. Yeah. Which I hate math, so music theory was like the math of music. So
really
I
is,
hated it. I hated it. But I did it, and I didn't enjoy it, but I did it, and it helped me so much. It built up strength in my fingers. So you got to have those calluses, and it prepared me for playing on 12 string because you essentially need twice the effort and the strength playing them. So it's I took a very a specific path in learning to play guitar. And then after I fell off of that, it's just been my own sort of adventure from there. And the 12 string was a big part of that. My uncle, whose guitar was I was a 12 string. That was the very first acoustic guitar I ever got to hold, was my uncle's 12 string. It was a Martin. And it was at a family reunion, and I kept saying to him, I love this, it's amazing, it's so beautiful. I remember learning my first couple notes, and he said to me, one day, when you're older, out of nowhere, you're just gonna, a 12-string acoustic is gonna show up at your door. And so that was, I was only about 7 years old at the time. Flash forward, I'm working at FedEx Ground, and I'm about 20 years old. And I'm sitting in the office, and my manager comes to me with this big package, and he's like, hey, something just showed up here. It came all the way from Calgary, Alberta. And lo and behold, it was a 12-string. It was a Fender 12-string acoustic, which is actually tattooed on my arm here.
Yeah, and I've got the younger brother here.
Yeah.
It's a newer model.
Got my uncle's initials on it because he passed away just after he had sent that, so I never actually got to thank him in person, which was heartbreaking for me. So got this tattooed on there, and his favorite song was Runaway Train by Soul Asylum, so that's kind of branded myself to forever thank him.
Yeah.
He was a huge inspiration on playing 12 string, and it's been with me my whole life.
And that's a touching story.
Yeah.
So let's cut forward a little bit. You've moved from Ontario. You've made the big career choice to move to Des Moines, Iowa, as so many big-name musicians have in the past. And again, sort of acoustic on 12-string, but you've also got a few other projects. But just sticking with what you've got now.
Yeah.
Your latest single is called Dreams.
Correct.
And we're going to hear it here in a bit. You're going to play it for us, as I understand.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about this video because I've watched it a few times, and I love the video. It's all retro home videos from the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
There's a lot of there's a shot of an Atari Jaguar
yeah.
in there, and I remember that sort of peak of video game experimentation where there was 6 or 7 different consoles, like a console wars happening.
Yeah.
And you've got a few of them in that video, people opening them up for Christmas and getting all excited. And so I'm curious, how much of that video is actually your home footage, and how much of it is other people's or recreated for the video? What was the production process?
Gosh, my parents never had, didn't really ever have much for any video cameras. They were expensive. We weren't, we weren't that well off of a family. So we would get secondhand stuff. So there wasn't a lot of video footage for me to go back and try to pull from. I got what I could. It's a smaller percentage. It's not probably definitely less than half, maybe 1/3 to a quarter is original stuff of mine.
Okay.
So the rest I had to scour the internet for. I found as much VHS footage as I could from the 80s and 90s, and just that showed, life as it was, when I was that age, and the things we were doing, the things we were into, because I looked through the videos to try and find what I could see and go, what, that could be me. You could replace them, and that would be me. I was doing that. Me and my friends, that could be me and my friends.
It really does have that feeling,
Yeah,
too. I remember opening our first Nintendo, and playing Duck Hunt. You have a shot of the gun. from
Yeah.
the Duck
Oh
Hunt.
yeah. I had to that game. Oh my gosh.
That was an interesting choice for that video. What made you decide to go that route with the video instead of a more traditional, like you as a musician in the video and performing the song or something to that effect?
The song is about remembering and sort of reliving those fleeting moments, those fleeting memories from our past. They may have been insignificant at the time, but they trigger and you go, oh my gosh, I remember that. And that's why, there's so much of that video, and there's so many, I spent countless hours and days and weeks putting that together just because there's so much footage, and they're quick. But, you look through them all and you go, oh my gosh, that, oh my gosh, hey, that movie, that game, me and my friends are doing this. The Atari Jaguar, it's, going to those concerts that we would put on when we were younger, and it was just all of us high school friends in those small little community halls and stuff like that. And I used to throw on shows like that as well when I was in high school, and we did some crazy stuff. And I saw that and I went, my gosh, this is what it should be about, because that is that time, and that was for me. I so much of who I am now is because of all of those memories and all those little things. They all add up and create you who you are. So going back to the 80s and 90s, I was able to see that and find that, and putting it all together, I wanted people to see the music video and not be like, well, this is Dan about Dan. I wanted them to see themselves, just like I saw myself, because that's what the song's about. It's about seeing yourself in that and remembering those amazing little moments. It hit me in a certain way, and the fact that others who have watched the video have had that same sort of experience and feeling is just it makes me so happy, and it was so much fun to put together.
And it sort of fits the theme of your musicianship in general, as I know it, because again, my exposure has been limited, but you have two sets that you do as a solo performer.
Yeah.
One that you refer to as the original alt rock set, which is of course your original music, which has been said by several people that I've seen in interviews with you that it has a bit of a 90s flair to it. It's sort of a throwback sound in a way. A modern take on a throwback sound, perhaps, might be a way of saying it. Because it doesn't sound old, but it sounds like, hey, this guy listened to a lot of music in the 80s and 90s. And then your other set is the retro radio mixtape, which is covers of 80s and 90s tunes.
Yeah.
And I saw in the interview you said you'll do Cyndi Lauper, you'll do Spandau Ballet, and of course you play some of the bigger hits from the 90s, probably some Soul Asylum, Gin Blossoms, Goo Goo Dolls, this type of thing.
Yep.
So it does sort of have that whole theme seems to fit with that video.
Yeah, and it's again all part of the project, because it's the cover stuff is all the songs, all the music that has inspired me over the years. Born and raised on the 80s stuff when I was a kid. My dad just standing there with his entertainment center. You had the record player, you had the both cassette decks, and then you had the EQ, the equalizer, and just it was that cabinet, that classic cabinet from the 80s, and he would just be playing songs, and I would just be sitting there in the basement playing games while he was playing music, and it just then I got to grow up in the 90s with all the alt rock and the grunge, and so I go back and play all that stuff, and then I go and then I play my original music, and my original music is what has become, what I've been able to create, as an original product because of all of that stuff that has influenced me. So, there's a bit of Spandau Ballet in there. There's a bit of Bush and Silverchair and all sorts of stuff. So it's. And every song, you can kind of get a bit of a feeling of all of that. So.
Well, a couple more things I want to get to. You just won a couple of awards from the Iowa Music Awards, the 3rd annual Iowa Music Awards. Tell me about that experience.
Yeah, that was, this is the first time I've ever released a song like this. I've had demo albums in the past. I have older stuff, but this was this almost like a reboot for me. So after I released Dreams, I found out they had the Iowa Music Awards going on, and I'm like, well, it's a perfect opportunity. I can actually submit this for this year's. So I threw it in there, and then I had people nominated me for different awards. I was actually originally nominated for Best Single and Best Music Video. So I went to the awards. I found out I won Best Music Video, and I didn't win Best Single, but they loved my song so much that they actually created a whole new award category, which is called Best Inspirational Song. And I found out I won that after the fact, and so now I'm actually going on Sunday to actually receive the award and kind of give my speech and all that. Just mind-blowing. I'm still kind of in shock that I see the award, in my basement and with everything, and I'm going, I did that. Especially for music video, my very first music video that I've done for myself. I mean, I've done stuff before in the past, but when you're doing it for your own song, something that's so personal, and I was so scared trying to make that and making it right. I'm very, very hard on myself. I'm my worst critic. I'm incredibly OCD, so it meant so much to me, and I'm just beyond humbled and grateful.
We've got about 1 minute left before my producers are going to start yelling at me. So there are two things I want to get to. For one, you have a Deftones tribute act band called the Def Notes. Tell me about that real quick, if you could.
Yeah, so Deftones, one of my favorite bands of all time, probably top of the list. I mean, Chino's a huge, huge inspiration for me. I've been in love with them since 1995 when they first hit the scene. And I always kind of said to myself, when all the bands I was in, I was like, we always have to at least cover one Deftones song, all the rock bands. And then, I started noticing tributes were playing, coming around, and I had said to a friend of mine, if I ever did a tribute, it'd have to be Deftones. I've been getting, people have always said, oh, you look like Chino, because I used to always have the chin hair, and I had my hair just like his, and they always say, oh, you look like Chino, you look like Chino. So I was like, well, it kind of makes sense. So I started doing it, and I do the full transformation. I relearned how to breathe and sing in order to do that. There's a videotape called The Zen of Screaming. I'm not sure if you ever heard of it, but it was...
I'll definitely look it up.
A vocal game changer for me. All sorts of breathing techniques, workouts with your face and your mouth. And so I can go and scream and sing like Chino for, an hour, 2 hours, and then the very next day go do a 4 or 5 hour solo set and lose absolutely nothing in my voice. I'm no longer using this, so I'm no longer destroying this. Sure. And people are like, how do you have a voice today? How did you just do this? I played a Wisconsin show with Def Notes. I did an hour set and then drove home overnight, slept for 3 hours, and then did a 4 hour solo set the next day doing 80s and 90s. I didn't stop, and just quality did not degrade, nothing, and I just held my own. It was just... it blows my mind that I can do that, but I never thought I would. But Deftones was a huge part of that, that's for sure.
That's quite the ability, and that brings us to the last thing. We're actually past time now. I'm getting chewed out in the studio here, but I have to get to this because again, one of the first exposures I had to you beyond the DM project was seeing you in a Superman suit, and we have a picture we're going to throw up in post-production here, but. Tell me about the cosplay events that you've done, briefly, if you can.
Yeah, so I mean, I do the odd cosplay thing here and there, like if Des Moines Con and stuff like that, but I work with a group called the Iowa League of Heroes, so I'm their Superman, so we go to the Sick Kids Hospital, we visit the kids and do all sorts of events around the state. I fully shave, obviously, but it's so incredible, just the look on those kids' faces to see their heroes, and we play them to a T. Our suits are genuine. I have it. My suit, everything together, is probably worth about $3,000. I'm
gonna say it's a high quality suit.
From Batman versus Superman, the exact suit Henry Cavill wore. So and is
it padded at all, or is that are you just ripped?
It's a lot of me, but there's obviously added stuff which even Henry Cavill wears because the suit does not it doesn't allow for muscle definition to come through, so you have to wear something,
Sure.
as all the Supermans do. But yeah, it's a phenomenal experience, and just getting, seeing these kids see their heroes and see them as something real and tangible is, it warms my heart, and I'm so grateful to be a part of them.
Well, we're grateful to have you here, and we're grateful to have
Thank
you
you.
doing your humanitarian work and on the music scene out there. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Dan Medeiros, everybody.
Hi, I'm Dan Medeiros, and this is my debut single, Dreams, available on Spotify and wherever you listen to music.
In your eyes, lost inside. It's like a million words I can't hide. Lost in this dream, lost in the endless road. Smile under mine, never could this distance keep me from you any longer. We'll take this name we used to meet this life will never be the same without this. No, just any other dream, another hopeless recollection.
thank you for tuning in to the Guitar Department. I've been your host, Joe Alton. I want to thank my guest, Dan Medeiros. Thank you for being here, Dan.
Thank you.
I finally got your name right.
Hey, I said it wasn't too far off the first time, but you know, you get a gold star from me.
I appreciate that. I also want to thank my producer Jackson Miller, our camera operator Matthew, everybody here at Mediacom who helps the show happen, Riemann Music for offering me up this wonderful 12-string guitar so I could match Dan's beautiful Takamine. And Dan, would you play us out with one more song?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Dan Medeiros, and this next song is called Sun in Disguise.
It's all in the way that we're trying. It's only the same when I'm lost in your eyes. So we stand up into we wait here for all your reasons set forward through. It's only the way that we're crying, lonely being when I'm lost in your arms. So we'll stand up into as we wait here for step forward through. It's the sun in disguise. So we'll stand up into as we wait here for all your reasons. Step forward through. It's sun in disguise. It's the sun in disguise. It's the sun in disguise. It's the sun in